Hello musicians, Bucky Dirtle here, welcome. I am doing another video tutorial today on the VCV Rack platform. This is the VCV Rack open source DAW. We are going through many different modules in these tutorials that are all open source, and today we are focusing on Vult's module Trummer2. Now we have some tutorials here on Trummer, the original Trummer1. Trummer2 is quite a bit more advanced than Trummer, Trummer1. It is a drum synthesizer, but this one is a bit more advanced. It gives us a lot of features. It's a very, very cool drum synth. I use this all the time. It's really cool. So just as a really quick overview, Trummer2 has two different sections. There's an oscillator on the left, and it has a noise generator on the right, which gives us a tick. Well, it doesn't have to be a tick. It can be any kind of noise sound. It can be long sound. That's not very tickish, like that. So yeah, and of course the oscillator is on the left. So what we're going to do in this tutorial today is I'm going to show you the time feature right here, the sub feature, wave, and shaper. Okay, we're going to have a look at those four items in this tutorial today on the oscillator side. Okay, so if I hit go here on my clock, and I'm going to turn, I got my noise turned all the way off. Okay, so we're only hearing the oscillator. Now I would refer to you guys to the Trummer tutorials because they talk about a lot of things like tune. This is talked about. Bend is talked about. So we don't need to go back over these things. But if you want to go back to those Trummer tutorials, you'll find out about it. Okay, I'm going to talk about time. Now, what time means is it has to do with bend. Now, bend is portamento. Bend is a portamento down when you go above, like in the positive side of this dial. It's sliding down. Okay, portamento is glissando. It's a slide. If you go below, it slides up. You can hear it sliding up. You see that? So what time does, time is how long that bend takes. Or you can make it very short, or 0. And same with on the way up as well. So you can get some pretty cool sounds out of this, you know. So anyway, that's time. Yeah, time. So time is the amount of time it takes for the glissando, the portamento, to actually happen. Okay, so that's that. Now, that's the time, and so it's related to the bend. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is sub. Now, what sub does, it adds another oscillator octave down. So if I take this out, you can hear it. And it's depending on how much you bring it in, it's how much that oscillator will play versus the original oscillator. See, that would be full on. Okay, so that's something you can play with too. So it's bringing in another oscillator. I don't know if we can see it here on our, yeah, you can see it a little bit there on our, it's not a great way to demonstrate it there on our scope, but you know, you can see it a little bit there. Okay, so that's that. So this is an extra oscillator, it's a low sub sound. Next, I want to talk about, I'm going to bring this up a little bit longer release so we can show you the wave. This wave is, it's referring to let me see if I can show you over here. I don't know if I can get this to work on our, here we go, that's not bad. So, you turn bend to 0 and time to 0. Now, right now, this is giving us a sine wave, okay? But we can, as we move this up, it changes it into a triangle wave. So you can hear there's more harmonics, more overtones coming out. And it morphs into that, so you get some really interesting sounds as you morph through the two waves. Okay, so that's that. Now Shaper is another variation on it. It seems to me, there's not a lot of documentation on this, but it seems to me that it's just shaping the waves. Like this sort of gives us a bit of a fold. I'm not sure exactly what's happening here, but we can use this. You can fine-tune audibly what you like. There isn't a lot of documentation on this, so sometimes when some of these modules, when there's not a lot of documentation, we kind of got to use our own ears to figure out what's actually going on. So the Shaper lets us shape that waveform to something that we like, that fits what we need. Let me show you some other things here. Yeah, so you can get some really interesting sounds with it, but it's you need to play with it to find the sweet spots. Yeah, anyway, you can play with it to see. Anyway, so that's Shaper. I wish I had more to tell you about Shaper, but again, there's not much documentation about this module. Does a lot of really cool things, but there's not a lot of documentation for us to go by. So, but the Shaper is a wave shaper, so we can, you can play with it to find the sounds you want. So we had, again, we go back to Trummer. Trummer talks about a lot of the things that are in this this module, but Trummer2 has some extra features, and we talked about time. Time is the amount of time it takes for portamento to take place. That's the bend. And when you go above a plus, it's bending down into the note. When you have a negative, it's bending up into the note. So that's portamento. It's like a glide or a slide. And time is the amount of time it takes to do that. Sub is another oscillator that is an octave down. And depending on how much you raise this up, will give you a mix of all of the sub oscillator or none of it, and be combined with the original oscillator. Wave goes between sine wave, triangle. And Shaper gives us some alternate shapes to our waveforms, and we can use our ears to figure out what it is that we want to have with that. And you need to fine tune it because it does a lot of cool things, but you need to play with it to see. So now in the future tutorials, I'm going to go over some of the other options that we have here in this, and some of the other ideas and some of the other functionality of Trummer2. I'm going to go into the noise section as well. So be sure to check out those tutorials as well. Okay, thank you very much for watching. Be sure to check out the Trummer1 tutorial, because that gives us a real foundation on how to use this drum machine, this drum synthesizer. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.